In 1942, American pilots in the Pacific were flying one of the most advanced fighters of the war, the P-38 Lightning. It was faster than the Japanese Zero, carried heavier firepower, and had superior range. Yet something didn't make sense. In close combat, P-38 pilots reported that the aircraft reacted just a fraction of a second too late. Not enough to notice during training, but enough to matter in a dogfight. Japanese Zero pilots were able to turn inside the P-38, forcing American fighters onto the defensive despite clear advantages on paper. At first, the problem was blamed on tactics, pilot experience, or the nature of Pacific air combat. But the real cause wasn't in the cockpit. It was hidden inside the aircraft itself. The Lockheed P-38 Lightning entered service as one of the most unconventional fighters of World War II. Its twin-engine layout gave it advantages no single-engine fighter could match. With two Allison V1710 engines, the P-38 could exceed 400 miles per hour, climb rapidly, and continue flying even after losing one engine. This made it especially valuable in the Pacific, where long distances over open water left little margin for error. The aircraft's nose-mounted armament was another strength. Unlike wing-mounted guns, the P-38's weapons did not require convergence. All firepower was concentrated straight ahead, increasing accuracy at longer ranges. However, the aircraft was also larger and heavier than the Japanese Zero. Its complex internal layout required long mechanical control cables to connect the cockpit to the control surfaces. While the design was efficient for speed and stability, it introduced a subtle vulnerability during high-stress maneuvering. Technical Sergeant James McKenna was not assigned to improve fighter design. His job was to keep aircraft airworthy under combat conditions. Ground crews like McKenna's worked long hours, often under heat, humidity, and enemy threat. They inspected aircraft after each mission, looking for damage, wear, and irregularities that pilots might not notice in flight. Unlike pilots, maintenance personnel saw patterns over time. They noticed how controls felt during checks, how components behaved under repeated stress, and how small mechanical issues accumulated. McKenna listened carefully to pilot feedback. When multiple pilots described the same delayed response during turns, he suspected a mechanical cause rather than a tactical one. Instead of accepting the reports as normal combat limitations, he began examining the aircraft more closely. The P-38 used a system of steel control cables to transmit pilot input from the cockpit to the ailerons, elevators, and rudder. These cables ran through pulleys and guide channels along the aircraft's long fuselage and twin booms. Under normal conditions, the system worked reliably. But during high-speed flight or abrupt maneuvers, even slight cable slack could develop. This slack caused a delay between pilot input and control surface movement. The delay was measured in fractions of a second, but in aerial combat, fractions of a second could determine who fired first. Japanese Zero pilots flew aircraft that were lighter and mechanically simpler. Their controls responded almost instantly, giving them an edge in turning engagements. McKenna realized that improving responsiveness didn't require a redesign, only constant tension in the cables. Any modification to military aircraft required formal approval. Unauthorized changes could result in disciplinary action or grounding of the aircraft. Despite this, McKenna decided to act. Using piano wire, known for its strength and resistance to stretching, he created a simple tensioning mechanism for the control cables. The goal was not to alter the system, but to remove slack under all conditions. The modification added minimal weight and did not interfere with existing components. Most importantly, it could be removed if necessary. McKenna did not announce the change. He installed it quietly, relying on operational results rather than paperwork to prove its value. Pilots flying the modified P-38s noticed the difference immediately. Control inputs felt sharper. The aircraft responded faster during turns, dives, and recovery maneuvers. In combat, this meant improved energy retention and better positioning against enemy fighters. Pilots could adjust aim more precisely and react faster to sudden threats. Reports from operational units indicated improved survivability and increased effectiveness against Japanese aircraft. While the P-38 remained heavier than the Zero, it no longer suffered from delayed response. The modification did not make the aircraft perfect, but it removed a critical disadvantage. Over time, similar improvements appeared in later P-38 variants. Lockheed engineers refined control responsiveness as production continued. However, McKenna's contribution was never formally documented. There was no official recognition or recorded acknowledgement of his role. In wartime production, results mattered more than attribution. Once a solution proved effective, it became part of standard practice. The aircraft improved. The innovator remained anonymous. World War II forced rapid adaptation. Aircraft designs evolved continuously, often based on frontline experience rather than laboratory testing. Many improvements came from mechanics and technicians responding to real combat conditions. Their work rarely appeared in official histories. McKenna's modification illustrates how minor mechanical adjustments could have major operational impact. It also highlights the importance of listening to those closest to the machines. Wars are not only won by strategy and production, but by problem-solving under pressure. The P-38 Lightning went on to become one of the most effective American fighters of World War II, serving across multiple theaters until the end of the war. Its success was not the result of a single breakthrough, but of many small improvements made under real combat conditions. James McKenna's contribution was one of those improvements, practical, undocumented, and largely forgotten. It reflects how much of wartime innovation came from people working behind the scenes, far from command offices or factory design rooms. If you're watching this, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. It's always interesting to see how far these stories travel. And if you'd like to hear more real, lesser-known World War II stories like this one, consider subscribing to the channel. New videos focus on the details that often get left out of the history books.